What's going on, YouTube? The time has come. The beast is here. So, this is the Tormek T8. I think it's about like $7.50 on Amazon. This package that I got comes with the jig that you need to sharpen plane blades and chisels. It comes with the dressing or flattening tool to flatten the stone. And this is actually, this is the dressing stone. This is to change the grit of your main stone. And then they all come with this little gauge, which I'll show you all of that. And then on top of that, I got this little add-on. This is the little knife or blade tool for sharpening like kitchen knives or a pocket knife or whatever you want. But we'll go over all of those. So, and I wanted to show you something that's really easy to do on this, which is harder to do on just regular flat stones that you have, like I did yesterday with the other stones, the water stones. So I have a Wood River plane that I use for work because I don't want to keep my good planes in the truck in the constant hot and cold and getting all rusty, and you know, sometimes, a lot of times I'm planing something and you don't know there's a nail in there until you find out there's a nail in there. So what I did is I got a Wood River number 4, and I took a file and I opened the throat of the plane. So this is not a number 4, and it's not a Wood River, but I just wanted to show you what I did. So, damn microphone. So I clamped the plane into a vise, and I took a file and I filed this throat opening much wider on my Wood River number 4. So the reason that I opened the throat on the number 4 Wood River is so that I can use it as a scrub plane if I wanted to, because a lot of times at work I don't have to be neat about it. I just need to hog material off, and I need to do it quickly. So what I did is I took the blade that came with the Wood River, which isn't, I mean, it's not a terrible blade, but it's definitely not Lee Nielsen type steel. So this is the one that came with the Wood River. And what I did is I marked it, and I brought it down to a grinder, and I ground a slight curve on the blade. And what that does is it makes it a ton easier to push. Like, you don't have as much resistance, and you can get much deeper cuts, and you can take off lots of wood really quick. So instead of having to go and buy a scrub plane and have to carry 2 planes on the truck, what I did is I just got this little Lee Nielsen plain blade wallet. And so I have my scrub blade, which is usually in the plane, but if for whatever reason I wanted to do something a little more cleanly or neatly, I went out and bought a IBC aftermarket blade. Yeah. These blades are made in Canada, and they do the same exact thing that Lee Nielsen does. They're tempered twice, and then they do a cryogen treatment just to make it that much harder. And I thought this IBC blade was going to come with a chip raker, but it did not. And it took like 3 weeks to get this blade shipped from Canada to my house. So what I did is I went to Lee Nielsen's website and just ordered a chip breaker from them and paired it up with the IBC blade. So most of these planes are all copied off of the old original Stanley. So, you know, more or less, they're all the same, but you gotta check first. So yeah, I just keep my nice blade in this leather case. And you can they have like a bunch of slots in here for bench plane blades, and then they have a second pocket over here, which you can put like block plane blades or whatever else you want in there. Pretty nice. Handmade leather. Sweet. All right. Yeah, and I didn't want to just take the blade and then have to keep swapping the chip breakers. Plus, I kind of docked the corners on these, so it wouldn't have exactly worked. So let's go over first step. So the Tormek T8 comes with this stone. You got to put some water in there and run it, because this thing sucks up a ton of water. So you'll fill that reservoir, turn it on, and it'll suck every last drop out of the reservoir, and then you got to fill it again. And then like another half a time, you got to fill it. Once it's fully saturated, so right now this stone is clogged. I can see little bits of metal stuck in it. And once it gets clogged up, it stops cutting. And you can also buy, I believe they have a 600 grit and a 1200 grit diamond stone wheel that you can buy. They're like $300 though, just for one wheel. Sorry about that. Amazon brought me some goodies. I had to shoot outside. So, alright, anyway, yeah, $300 for a diamond stone. The good thing about those is you don't have to flatten them. They stay flat. But you can't change the grit, so if you want to go from coarse to fine, you gotta pop the wheel off. But, I don't know, I think this is good enough for me for now. So, let's get started. We're going to flatten the stone, and then we're going to sharpen this blade, which has a curve to it on this, which is really hard to do by hand. I mean, some people can do it, but I can't. So I'm going to reset up and we'll get started. This has a micro adjust. This is a threaded bar, and you can make micro adjustments to the height of your bar. The cheaper versions don't have that, so you have to literally like guess and then lock it in. So let's start with the flattening. This thing, you slide it all the way in. There's a knob on the back here, kind of just locks it in place so it doesn't want to slide. And then lower this down. Alright, so we're just going to lower it down until this little tip under here that's impregnated with diamonds just barely touches the stone. Then I'm going to lock it in and turn it on. So it's not hitting yet. Lower it down a little more. Okay. Now just slowly turn these, and that thing will just ride across and flatten it all down. And it scrapes off all the junk that's stuck. Yeah, so it sounded nice and even as it was coming across. I didn't hear any skipping. I didn't hear anything like that, so. And that is nice and clean now. So we get rid of that. Now, as you use this, the wheel shrinks. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So there's a little gauge over here on the side that you need to look at. It's on this little plastic gauge. This adjustment here, I mean, they convert it to inches inside that little thing, but there's millimeters there. So you set it to whatever the wheel is. And then over here, this is the angle that you want to grind onto your blade. So I want 25 degrees. So I'm already on. It kind of just stays there because that's usually what I use. So again, you want to, so if you're just grinding something square and you're not putting a curve to it, there's a little stop right here up against the side. So you put your blade in and just go right up to that stop. Now in the directions it says, so if you wanted to do a curve, you're supposed to center the blade on this center line. But then you don't have a reference, and you gotta go get a square out and make sure that it's square. And it's really, I mean, this is just a scrub plane, so it's not that important to me. So I am just going to slide it up. I'm just going to slide it up to that square stop. All right, make sure it's against that stop. Tighten them up. Now, if you were just grinding this blade square, you see how this casting has a line right here, and then on the other side of the casting there's another line. If you line those two lines up, you should be in the ballpark of square, but you'd still have to micro adjust. And how you do that is with these two knobs. By tightening and loosening these, it's taking the blade and twisting it. So in my case, because I want to twist it as I'm grinding, I'm going to loosen these. So they're all the way off, so this can swing. Now we're going to slide it on. And you want the wheel turning towards the blade this way to roll that burr. Obviously, when we get over to the strop, you don't want the strop coming towards the blade because it'll just bite and peel it off. So you got to go the other way. But we will get to that. So now you take the handy tool that they gave you. You put this side where it says 25 degrees, you put that on your blade and rest the other spot on the wheel. Now you can use the micro adjust knob and go up or down until it sits flat on the blade. And then lock it in. And you can't really see it, but what I was doing is I was just getting this plastic thing. I was using the micro adjust so that the plastic thing sat flat and was touching across the blade. That's what I was just doing right here. Once that is set, we are ready to go. The knobs are locked in. And we power it up. And again, you gotta flatten the back. If the back of the blade is not flat, you could take it over to the stone and flatten. There are some people go right on the side of the stone, but this is pretty rough, so I don't usually do that on this. Now you go across, back and forth, and I'm turning it. I'm doing this as I'm going across to give it that curve. And you can see where it's hitting by where the water is pooling up on the blade. And when this stone is in its rough state, it cuts really quick. So I am doing the same thing. I'm feeling, and we do not have a burr yet. So we need to keep going. Yeah, we have a burr now. We have a small burr started. Alright, so the next thing that this thing comes with, this I guess it's a grading stone. It's got a smooth side and it's got a rough side, which this one's starting to get worn out. So basically, if you want to make the stone cut faster, you put the rough side of the stone on here and grind this stone and make it rough. And then, so this is rough right now. We're cutting fast. We want to dial it back a little bit. So I'm going to use the smooth side and smooth this down, the stone down. I think it like makes a paste and just fills all the holes and smooths off the top ridges. This is the safest way to reshape a plane blade without ruining the temper. Once you ruin the temper, it is over. Alright, so now we're going to hit it again, now that the stone is nice and smooth. And it's a slow speed grinder, so I mean, you can put your hand right on it, you know. Yeah, you can hear the difference already. Oh yeah. Alright, we got a nice burr now. And you see it's a little more shiny than it was the last time. A little bit. But not much. Alright, now we're going to move on to the power strop. And these machines are so customizable. You can buy, if you're into carving, they have different wheels you can put on, different accessories. I've seen some Tormeks that have wheels out to here, all different kinds for sharpening things that are curved or whatever. I'm going to move this guide rail back and forth, and then I'm going to look from the side and see, just by eye, see how I want that bevel to be flat on this strop. Okay, now what I'm going to do, see, when I do this, I literally just take it out. I take it out of the jig and I just hold onto the blade and I use the strop. But in the directions they show you that you would take a magic marker, and put some black marker on where you want the strop to hit so you can see if it's hitting it or not. But it's real tough to get the back when it's in this jig. And I almost feel like I want to hit the back before I do the front, but just to show you both ways. Looks like I guessed pretty good the first time, but I'm not going to do it that way. Use the bar like a support. I'll do the back, then I'll flip it around. Look from the side, make sure it's where I want it, and do the other side. And it's the same thing. It comes with the leather wheel. You just load it up with some buffing compound. Get off the schmoo. See that? It's starting to look like a mirror. Yeah, it's sharp. And this is the other attachment I got. You can take any kitchen knife or pocket knife. You tighten it in to the jig. And it's got this handle that turns, which brings this cone in or out. And you rest that cone on this bar. That gives you a control point. And then you can tip the blade, go across, sharpen, come across. I don't want to do it because this blade's already sharp, but you know, basically it's just the same thing we just did with the plain blade, but the knife angles are a little different. So there's a bunch of notches on this tool where you can put the blade in and see what angle was this sharpened at from the factory. So that's it for the Tormek. I mean, literally, I could go on for hours. You know, there's so much stuff you can do with this machine. It'll do cat claws too. But I don't know. It's not a 16,000 grit Waterstone either. So this is great for the speed of things, and yeah, you can get stuff sharp enough. I mean, I guess they say just as sharp, but I don't know. The only thing that this thing is not good for is, you know, well, I guess you could just do a quick touch-up on the strop, but there is no, like, quick touch-up on this stone, you know? I mean, I don't see it. I think it's a little easier just to hit the 16,000 grit whetstone, hit the strop. You don't need any power, and you're done. Back to business, you know? But, yeah, I hope this was helpful. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys on the next one.